morning, everyone. My name is Alice Ty, Director of Library Programming and Public Affairs, and this is Melissa Nikinen, our Associate University Librarian for Special Collections and University Archives. We're so grateful to all of you for joining us today for a special event that brings all of us together to reflect on the devastation and the immense power of the Woolsey Fire. In the wake of the fire's destruction, we at Pepperdine have been immensely thankful for the moments of bonding and the acts of generosity extended by the Malibu community. Today, we are honored to be hosting this launch for Radical Beauty, a joint effort between the Pepperdine Libraries, Seaver College, and the city of Malibu to document and process this natural disaster and its effects on all of us. The hills around us have been filling up again with flowers and wildlife. Much in the same way, the poets and artists sharing their work today show us how something beautiful can emerge even from terrible and tragic events.
We hope that many of you in the audience, whether you are here to read, share your artwork, or to listen, will consider contributing to our newly launched Malibu Community Woolsey Fire Memory Project. Here in the libraries, we are always cognizant of the importance of such acts of memory, of preserving critical moments for future generations. By collecting photos, videos, and written accounts, we aim to document the impact of the Woolsey Fire on our local community and help us process and heal from this disastrous event by sharing our stories and experiences. Please feel free to pick up one of these cards, and you should have one on your chairs, to find out how you can contribute to this memory project.
So without further ado, I am honored to bring up our own Dr. John Struloff, Director of the Creative Writing Program and Professor in the Humanities and Teacher Education Department, here to get us started today.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Happy Poetry Month. April 1st is the official start. First, I would like to thank Mark Russa, Dean of Libraries, who wasn't able to be with us today, and Alice Tsai, Director of Library Programming, for opening this space up to us and for coordinating everything to make this event possible. There are a few other people I'd like to recognize as well. First is Ellen Reich, our second and newly appointed Malibu Poet Laureate. Who will be our Poet Laureate for the next 2 years. She's been a long-standing member of the Malibu poetry community, involved in Poetry by the Sea and many local poetry workshops and readings. She has inspired and encouraged me and so many others, so be looking out for events that she'll be facilitating in her new role. So congratulations to Ellen. Next is Ricardo Means Ibarra, our first, possibly preeminent Malibu Poet Laureate, the creator and co-editor of the anthology Radical Beauty that we're celebrating today. His co-editor is David Teal, a local photographer, and together they've created a wonderful book. I hope you've been able to see a copy already. I'm in this profession because I believe in the power of sharing our stories and poetry and art with one another, the way that it sustains us, helps us to understand one another, and brings us together. It allows us to see more fully the challenges of life and to see the beauty that we may not have been able to see on our own. I remember the first moment that I heard Ricardo say he wanted to create a book like this after the fire. And I thought, yes, that is exactly right. Thank you to the editors and to the contributors and everyone else who supported this anthology. And please welcome Ricardo Means Ibarra.
Put this thing down. Thank you, John. And thank you all for being here. Welcome. This is the first official reading of Radical Beauty. You know, after the fire, we all ask the same questions. Why? What happened? What did I just see? And some people complained. Some people didn't know what to do. And the artists got together and went, what am I going to put down on paper? What am I going to put down? What am I going to paint? And they tried to answer the questions as well. Everyone's trying to answer that question. But artists realize that they can never answer the question. They just keep on stumbling along. And actually, that is the answer, right? Not to answer the question. Yeah. So I am so proud and so honored to be here. The poets who are here, there's a couple of artists. Ako Iyang just walked in. He didn't bring the original, but there's a photo of his painting in Radical Beauty. Margaret Hopman's piece right here is also in Radical Beauty. And the beautiful thing about Margaret is that she takes pictures of the sunrise. And this photo right here is the first sunrise she was allowed to take after you got back home, right? Yeah. So that's an incredible. So I really didn't know what else to say when I got up here. I wanted to turn it over to the poets, and I want to hear what you have written down. I'm just, artists need to be heard in our community, and thankfully we are. And Pepperdine has done a great job of sharing with the city of Malibu. And all I can tell you is that I appreciate you all for coming out. I appreciate the work that was sent in. It wasn't anything that I did special. It really wasn't. It was actually Dave Teal. He did most of the work. So let's get this thing rolling. As I tell my students, let's start slamming. Okay. Deborah Colladell, would you like to come up and start us off? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Usually I'm a dancer. I'm not used to public speaking, but here I go. I just want to say that, sure. Okay. I'm a longtime Malibu resident, and I lost my home in the '93 fire. So fire is something that's familiar and resonates with me all the time the minute the Santa Anas blow. And so this poem I actually wrote quite a time ago, and then after the Woolsey Fire, felt like I needed to tweak it a bit. Anyway, this is my experience from fire. The smell of smoke, acrid, assaulting, my sleep interrupted, half-remembered dreams vanish in a blink. Fear rises, memory surges, a charred landscape lunar in its lack of color, warped treasures left behind, contorted, forcibly forgotten. Winds whip wildly, now fully awake, senses on alert as that dark plume cuts a dry blue sky. Fire ignites the hills, laying down devastation, at once violent, relentless. Nature's anger, undeniably beautiful, arresting. Cooling that fear, I let go. As ash falls like gentle snow, I let go.
Thank you, Deborah. That was beautiful. Thank you. With every poem, or we tried to with every poem, match it with a piece of art or a photo that possibly captured the sentiment. I'm not sure. But I can't remember what art piece was across from your poem. Oh, Two Faces by Alden Marin. They're stick faces. Incredible. Okay, thank you so much. Next. Anne, would you mind coming up and reading? Anne Buxey.
Yeah. It's like a force of nature to see the poets from John Struloff to the Malibu poets, Pepperdine to the city, to everyone working together. That's like a force of nature to see that. Okay, well, I love questions. Or this is more like a command, the epigraph to this poem, Radical Beauty. It's by T.H. White. He authored The Once and Future King. Learn why the world wags and what wags it. Radical beauty roots. Earth's ample replenishes, reconfigures century by century. Rivers run dry, mountains erode, islands sputter forth. Radical beauty balances the weight of grief and eruptions of joy, holds the wagging of thousands of trees flowering and fruiting, of water flowing, and nameless whimpers of the forsaken. Radical beauty is aged and newborn, sated with suffering. Her language impales me. Each word ringing, each word a causing, a moment of truth approaching on soft shoes. She must be mounted, not bridled, not questioned. Mounted, grip her mane, lean into her prophecies. Radical beauty dictates her own script, mirrored in the new, the presence called now, a radical event of its own. I am not and never will be the beauty you saw yesterday. Take another look. I'm ripening, tapping into bursts of genius. Sometimes I overflow. Take another look. You might fall for me. News for T.H. White. Radical beauty wags this world because.
Thank you, Anne. That was beautiful. Thank you. Let's see, we have Ellen Cohen.
This poem was written in response to, can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Ann. In response to a message that I got on the cell phone. Are you okay? Yes seems the most encompassing response, emotionally, physically, along with an overwhelming sense of being blessed. I have a door I can open and shut behind me. A scorched hill outside bedroom and kitchen windows now turning green. Like a bear on its back playing in the snow, if the mud slides when it rains, I'll just flow with it or let it tuck me in. So many have lost everything. If they can cope, so can I. Wishing you a little holiday magic, like the 3 deer I spotted grazing on the emerging, vibrant green carpet. Nature can be so bountiful. Can being the operative word. I can give voice to the full gamut of throttled and swallowed feelings. Breathe in a steady stream of oxygen. Feed all cells within. Break the cast I've fashioned and lived with for so long. Toss its constraining power into consuming flames. Move on.
Thank you, Ellen. All right, who do we have now? Nathan Hurd, why don't you come up here? Are you still here? There you are. So good to see you again.
All right, this is an erasure poem taken from Lamentations chapter 1. How deserted lies the city, once so full of people. Bitterly she weeps at night. Tears are on her cheeks. All her friends have gone into exile. All who pursue her have overtaken her in her distress. The roads mourn. All her gateways are desolate, and she is bitter in anguish. Her children have gone into exile. All the splendor has departed like deer that find no pasture. Her enemies looked at her and laughed at her destruction. Look, Lord, on my affliction. All her people groan as they search for food to keep themselves alive. Look, Lord, look around and see. Is any suffering like the suffering in the day of his fierce anger? From on high he sent fire, sent it down into my bones. This is why I weep, and my eyes overflow with tears. Restore my spirit, Lord. The Lord is righteous. Listen, all you peoples, my young men and young women have gone into exile. I am in torment within. Inside there is only death. My heart is faint.
Thank you, Nathan. I have to tell you that when we got Nathan's poem, it was about 4 or 5 pages long. And this was just a part of it, and I had to cut a few pieces of poetry down to fit into the book. And so I told Nathan, and he said, yeah, fine, you can use that piece. And you'll see the way that it's printed on the page is really fascinating. And so I got whatever you sent and gave it to Dave Teal, and I don't know if it was JPEG or what it was, but when he tried to put it on his Apple computer, the whole thing, everything came up. And so what, Nathan, you can explain it better. What you did is you took this poem from Lamentations and you picked out special words in it, right? Yeah, and so everything all of a sudden popped up, and we were stunned. Oh my God! I thought this is really incredible. So thank you. That was you'll see how it looks on the page. So everything else has been whited out. Rob, would you like to read your poem? Rob and I took a hike up above Leo Carrillo. And we each wrote a poem, and this is Rob's poem. Thank you.
I was here during the fire, volunteering with the Emergency Operations Bureau of the Sheriff's Department. And it was quite an experience to see everything go up in flames and evacuating people, saving animals, and then going hiking in the mountains after and seeing the radical transformation. So, Yerba Buena was closed today. Yerba Buena was closed today. We tried to get to you, then tried another way, then another. Escondido to Mulholland and back to Pacific Coast Highway. The sign saying, "Road closed," was a slap in the face to a jilted lover. Determined more than disappointed, we parked and walked. But even walkers were unwanted suitors. Leo Carrillo Canyon, closed. I won't be loved today. We entered paths once clear and straight, now indiscernible after the fire, then flood, then rock and mud. But we ascend. Your colorful canyon so seductive, we must be forgiven for breaking the law. Like migrants coming to America, our pursuit of beauty, of comfort will suffer no barriers. Painted ladies led the way, a parade of personal tour guides. We flew with them to yellow poppies and purple stems painted on canvas of Pacific blue. And though we didn't get to you as we hoped, your neighbor was an enthralling host, and we were no longer sad that Yerba Buena was closed today.
That was really a fun hike. That was. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. How about if we invite the new Poet Laureate of Malibu up here? Come on. I'm so proud of this woman. I've known her for 35 years, I think. Oh, wow. Okay.
What a wonderful way to start, Poetry Month, National Poetry Month today, April 1st, with poetry here at Pepperdine. Just for anyone that might be interested, April 18th is Poetry in Your Pocket Day, and you put a poem in your pocket and then you share that poem all throughout the day. So that might be something that some of you would be interested. My poem, Ricardo talked about asking why, and usually there are no answers. And often I look up to the stars and ask that same question. And so this poem is about how during the fires and the incessant rains after, there were no stars. The title is The Unspoken Needs to Be Spoken. Known. Released to the sky when rain clouds disappear and light becomes crisp and accurate. When will stars stare down, invite me to find a way toward clarity? I'm ready for their knowledge. I've not yet prepared the procedure. Stars like eyes will peer down in anticipation of my listening. But raindrops spatter my windows. There is no denying the rain. There is no future, only an expected hour that gobbles up the minutes. My love has not appeared in dreams or wakefulness. I hear no echoes of his voice, see no shape of him in the shadows where I hide when the sun is wearing its mask outside my door. The rain that hadn't come for years now won't stop. It refreshes forests, fills reservoirs, saturates homes with mud. Dusk arrives. I want to sleep, but it's too early. I make my body stay awake, turn on the lamp. In this rain, the unspoken remains unspoken.
Ellen is such a wonderful community resource. On the first Saturday of every month, we have an open mic, a featured reader and an open mic at the library. It's called Caffeinated Verse, and Ellen is going to be taking over. And I think you should all come down and read your poems. It's incredible. It's just like this, only a little more cozier, but no surfboards. So, Angelia, you are a new friend, and you have been published in Radical Beauty. I'm so happy. Would you come up and read for us? How much time do we have? Do you want to read the whole poem?
Sure, after we get it.
Oh, why don't you just read the short one? Do you mind? Okay. She has a long version and a short version. She's going to read the short version.
So I'm from Burbank, And if you're from Burbank or any of the surrounding area, pretty much, you know that there's fires in the hills, it seems, every few months. So fire isn't something that's very new to me, but even so, I don't think I was prepared for the magnitude of the fire that we experienced in November. And it kind of forced me to rethink how I felt about fire and everything associated with it. So that's what this poem is about. It's called Prologue to Where the Fire Met the Water. It's the flicker of silent energy quivering from the top of each block of wax, from which a sultry tear trails to pool on the dinner table, where it will later harden when it's time to retreat into sleep. It's the ghostly gray trails curling into the sky, peeling off from the flowing scarlet embers that caress the dismembered carcass of a tree and dissipate with the wind, or get sucked into your windpipes. You enjoy the oaky aroma around you, enveloping the laughter of those around you, mixing with the static noise and echoing into the chill night, while the hot tongues lick the soft, sugary sweets we all crave, kept distant at the end of sticks that you twist in your hands. You love it, you respect it, but you wouldn't dare touch it. Because it's also the billowing tufts that peek over as you round the top of the bridge, driving toward the towering folds in Earth's blanket bordering your hometown, cottony contorting clouds ascending past the jagged skyline, a hellish combustion trying to suffocate the hillside. A more hostile scent is carried down the street to your apartment, tinting the air. You wonder how many people will be forced to flee this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelia. I hope we hear from you more often. Come down and read a caffeinated verse, or I'd like to see more of your work. So let's see. We have, Shay, you showed up, and is that Mackenzie Daggett next to you? Are you going to both read? Beautiful. Okay, who wants to read first? Shay McCollum.
All right, so I ended up writing a series of poems after the fires, kind of trying to make sense of what had happened and how to feel about it. And I feel like at the end of every poem, I just kind of came up with the conclusion that it was just a very strange and weird event. So that's kind of what this poem is about. It's called Isn't It Strange? Strange it is to watch from afar as my whole world is blackened and changed. Because though I stand from a distance unscathed, watching as the smoke clouds rise up the horizon, I swear I can feel the heat of the flames dancing upon my face. And stranger still it is that a fire can burn even that which it never touches. Because though I could have sworn I'd packed my metal up with me when I ran, looking on helplessly now, I find it turned to ashes in my hand. But what's strangest of all is that a fire that has a power to consume all I know in just one single night cannot keep the grass from growing after spring's first rain. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. Mackenzie, do you want to read? Wonderful. The first time I've gotten to meet you. Such an honor. Great.
Hello. So the morning of the fire, I actually left very early in the morning. My roommate shook me awake, which was a very disconcerting experience. She's like, the fire's jumped the 101, we gotta go. We've got a place to stay. We're gonna sleep on my mom's couch. We had a plan, and I knew that wasn't the case for many people, though. So we never saw the flames. We left. We watched through wing mirrors, through retweets, Discovery Channel stuff, not a thing you ever actually see. We drove. We watched. We called, "We're okay." We said that a lot. We would say that a lot. We thanked God. We counted blessings. We prayed for the ones who never left. Breakdown at the birthday dinner. Mood swing on Christmas morning. Smoke sticks to our clothes. It tends to linger. It followed. Thank you.
Wonderful poem. Thank you. Barbara Burke, come on up. I'm so glad Barbara's here. Normally she writes for the Surfside News. Yeah, so she's a reporter. This is beautiful to have a artistic side. See the artistic side of Barbara. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Good morning. How are you? I am actually a person who's Celtic. You can tell by my red hair. And in the Gaelic, there is a principle of the ancients watching over us. So one evening, shortly after the fire, I wrote this. The ancients are watching as the stars gleam above, lovely, lulling, lucid. A full moon hovers above the sea, luminous, prescient, omniscient. Curious constellations convene, contemplating carelessness, consumerism, and the obtuseness of man. Are they nihilistic or knowing? The ancients are watching you and me. Listen, look, love. I pause to ponder at a beach, once pristine, now precariously fragile, abraded by nature's work, adulterated at the hand of man. Tumultuous tides pound incessantly against the shore, agnostic to the tumult and the cacophony, as motorists maniacally careen past on the Pacific Coast Highway, headed nowhere, headed everywhere, headed anywhere, entirely unaware of whales whistling, of crows calling, of dolphins dancing. The music of their movement mesmerizes if one only spends moments. Woolsey wounded this place. Chaparral meets concrete, meets bruised bluff, meets beach. So many dispassionately displaced by an insidious, incendiary, furious, frenzied fulguration, voraciously destroying dreams, mercilessly erasing memories, relentlessly roaring, invidiously invading canyons and prairies, hellacious hell spots, hellacious hot spots, upheaval, emblazoned embers, evicted. Did the fire have its own consciousness, a force of nature forcing man to revisit the priorities? Perhaps. A dazed diaspora with decisions to make. A community collectively has PTSD, pensively pondering which way to go. Should I rebuild or retreat? Regroup or toss in the towel? Crunch time, gotta make a call. Reconnoiter, reset, rebound. Come back, those who left. Come back. Don't flee. Build smarter, build less. Nature bats last, a scientist once said to me, but man fails to see. The ancients are watching you and me, admonishing against mindless materialism, advising, construct minimally, consume cautiously, humbly inhabit here.
I'd like to, Akko, do you want to say something? What's that? Sure, come on up, please. Akko is an artist. There's his piece right there. But he also is an artist in the schools, and he helped our fifth graders do two beautiful panels. I don't know if you were at the Call to the Wall. Whales and dolphins, I believe. They are incredible. And along with Nicole Fisher, Akko worked with the students, and it was incredible. We had art and we had poetry. What could be better, right? Akko, please.
Thank you. So I was evacuated and I went to Ojai for 3 months, and there I met a family that was also evacuated, and their story is what inspired me to write this poem. Tongues of yellow, red and orange, sweeping down the slopes to kiss on walls of wood and even concrete. The hillsides themselves, trapped by unmoving roots of stone, had no choice but to endure the heat, the smoke, and the fingers of Hephaestus that were reaching down to claim little Sarah's box of toys, her brother's surfboard, and even the house that she'd been born in. One day at home, the next homeless at home. The pain in her heart, seen in her parents' eyes, as they stare at the door that has opened into the unknown, a place of fear, a place of tears, a place of uncertainty, yet a place where they must plant a seed and find the courage to hope that it will germinate to give new life.
Thank you, Akko. True Renaissance man. Poet and an artist. Yes, okay. Professor Strula, John, would you come up and, have I missed anybody? Is there anybody else who is in the book and wanted to read? Is that you? No? Okay. Would you like to take us out then? Okay, thank you.
The cost. $15. The first hour of cellular data to watch the news streams about the fire in the parking lot of Home Depot, searching for helicopter footage of my neighborhood to see if it had burned yet. $2.99. A six-pack of bottled water when it became clear the fire was going to burn into the evening. $60. Cellular data into the night. Watching newscasts on my phone in my car. Searching emergency websites to see how far the fire had burned, which homes were confirmed as total losses. Speaking of phones. $5.99. The cost of the packaged turkey sandwich I bought at Ralph's by the Home Depot. As I talked to my mom on the phone, voice shaking, telling her that I think my apartment might have burned. The fire was too intense and all the bushes and power poles were burning along the street as I evacuated. How could my home have survived? Free. One night's sleep in the driver's seat of my car in the Home Depot parking lot. Waking each hour to look anxiously toward the burning hills to ward off the recurring nightmare that my car had just ignited. $332.98. The next 2 nights, in one of the last hotel rooms in the valley. 250,000 others evacuated. Unsure if my home had burned. Unclear when we would be told or when we could return, because the winds were still heavy and the fire was still growing. $83.17. My meals over those 3 days. My phone always open next to me as I ate, rechecking the maps that showed which properties had burned. My entire neighborhood marked burn zone. Tears burning my eyes as I remembered more clearly everything I would lose. Free. The dizzying relief when my street was opened 4 days after the fire began, and I saw my home unscathed, but the hillsides all around blackened, still smoking, ash drifting in the breeze. Free. The haunting sorrow I carry inside for the hundreds of families near me who lost their homes.
Thank you, John. So, thank you all for coming. I thought that was a pretty wonderful reading. Big applause. Great. Now, we have Margaret Hopman here with her photo, Akko with his art piece. There's more copies of Radical Beauty. If you're one of the contributors, there's a contributor's copy for you. And I hope the rest of you might buy a copy. We need to keep the arts going. How much are they? Yes, you can. They're $20 each. And I think they're beautiful. And on Friday at Red Ladder Gallery, we're going to have another publication party from 7 to 9. All of you are welcome. Anybody who is a contributor is welcome to read as well. And hopefully we're going to have some music there as well. So again, I appreciate you all for coming. I thought it was wonderful. It was great to hear the poems read by the artists. And what else can I say? Let's go buy some books. There we go.